director, actor Patrick Wang. This movie just hits me in the gut. I love this movie, Patrick. I'm going to start off with just a couple of questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. I'm sure you have some questions. I was mentioning earlier that Patrick had a little difficulty at the beginning with this film, getting it out there. Since then, he was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, several Muriel Awards. He's now achieved national distribution, and he's just been picked up by New Yorker Films for non-theatrical distribution. So I'm curious about that myself, because I'm always interested in how movies traffic. If you could talk a little bit about the New Yorker deal, because I've not heard of a non-theatrical distribution deal.
That's interesting. New Yorker kind of invented that market. They created the market, and it's a market that a lot of bigger companies kind of overlook. It's educational, it's film societies, it's nonprofits, and so there's all these people, kind of communities set up to watch films for whatever reason, and educational too, and they get your film out there. They work very hard. They have wonderful taste. It's a wonderful company. You look at their library, and it's just flattering company to be in.
Yes, New Yorker's great.
Yeah.
And the other question I'll ask is, this is a movie that is very complex in its addressing of minority issues. It's a movie that could be placed in a number of different community-based festivals. You know, it happens to be in the Asian American Festival here. It could be in several other different categories of festivals, even for lawyers, possibly.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm curious how you feel that your film advances Asian American independent filmmaking.
I don't know. I think that's a question for others. And others have answered and written about that. I think with much more insight than I can provide, but I can tell you that it's wonderful to be in the context of an Asian American film festival. The very first festival we played here in the States was an Asian American in San Diego, and it was such a wonderful experience to get to talk to other people who make the films and who think about films in the Asian American context, and to be among that community. I think was it gave me a lot that got me through some of the other hardships that were to come and some of the challenges to come, and they gave me friends to come back to call on, just to talk to as I went through some questions and then some other journeys with this film. So it's that's the part I can address as to what it does to Asian American filmmaking. Period. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, let's open it up. Do we have some questions? Yes.
I'm sorry, I only saw the last 10 minutes, but I do have a screener and I will watch it. But I was curious, what were some of those challenges that came later?
There was about half a year where nobody liked the movie.
What were the problems with it?
There were, well, I think what happens is it is very different, and it is to really enjoy the movie. I mean, there's people who don't enjoy the movie, and there's people who do, and I think the people who do are open to the opportunity and open to experience. It is an experiential film. And the people who had trouble, I think, with the film were people who were nervous, who were scared, who anything that cut off, as in movie watching and as in life, cut off them being able to enjoy the opportunity. So I think that has been at the heart of a lot of these problems, is that you have something different. And those different things always have a harder time in the world, but I don't want to leave out, I think, the very important thing, which is people like Michael, which is champions like this festival, which have been, they're the reason this film is still alive. And they each, in ways I know of, and some ways I don't know of, have really been this long line of champions for this film. So even as we've had this modest success, it is because of all these people that have stood up for it.
You know, one interesting side note, a couple were leaving as we came down here, and the wife said, "That was a long movie." And the husband goes, "Was it?" That was perfect.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Why did you choose, well, two questions. Why did you choose to set the movie in the South? And also, has it played in any gay film festivals, or do you plan to have it play in any gay film?
It is co-hosted by Frameline. Film Festival, which is the GLBT festival here in San Francisco.
Yes.
Right,
Co-presented.
right, but the gay film festival is usually in June. And-
They
Yeah.
weren't fast enough.
That's coming up by now.
That is true, and I think Frameline for they've been very supportive of this film. I think your first question was why was it set in the South?
Yes.
Is that right? I'm from the South, and I don't think the South often gets a very sophisticated film treatment. So I wanted to, that was one reason. Another reason is I think that if you set this, you know, in a major metropolitan area on the East Coast or West Coast, I think in some ways it becomes too easy for some people. I think in this way, setting it in Tennessee, in Western Tennessee, there's a learning curve for everyone, and there's some unfamiliar elements for everyone, and I think that's nice for a story that kind of opens up, that you don't get into it too easily. There's some foreign aspects of it.
Up there?
Speaking of length, I work as an editor, and part of the conversation is to always discuss when a film is the right length. This felt really right to me, but I'm curious, in your process, how did you arrive at that? Did you get any pressure to shorten it for commercial reasons?
Well, for commercial and every other reason. You know, it's going to have a hard life, and a lot of the pressure came from me. You know, once I realized it was this long, no, there's got to be some solution, something I'm not seeing, and so I struggled with it. And at the end of it, I can present it with confidence because of going through that, of really beating myself up and of thinking through it, and that this is what it has to be. And I think that what happens is as it gets shorter, things get easier in the film, and things become a little more obvious. And I think that one of the nice things about the film is the unpredictability. And one of the nice things also about some of the space in the film is that, you know, there's a performance on screen, and then there's a performance that the audience gives. The audience, I think, the best audiences are very generous, and they put their own experiences up there next to these guys. And that, I don't think it happened if you rushed it along, if you didn't leave that space for people to remember the things in their own lives, the losses and the family incidents.